Speaker Weatherford, the coming in Speaker Weatherford the House, he said that he would allow online sales tax, he would look at allowing it, but they'd like it to be revenue neutral. Something Rick Scott also said too, which essentially says that when we buy things on the internet in the state of Florida, we pay a sales tax on it, but it being revenue neutral, instead of that going to funding the government, we go towards creating tax breaks for corporations. Is that something that you support?
Well, I think when you say revenue neutral, it just means that it's not going to be a tax increase for anyone in fact. It just means if you start taking in millions of dollars more than what you were before in the sales tax arena, the possibility exists that we could lower the sales tax before.
Well, that's not what they're saying. They're saying specifically if tax rates to businesses and corporations. They're not saying giving it to people or lowering the sales tax. And the thing we have to look at is, I'm sure once again they're going to say we can't afford to fund the state because property taxes haven't increased and whatnot. And so then they'll continue to cut as they've done year after year after year when they're collecting additional revenue, so they refuse to add it to the budget.
Well, and again, I think it's somewhat. I mean, how much do we want the government to be?
Yeah, that's not problem. That's funding the government.
Well, we want the government to solve all your problems.
No, we are the government. You are an elected representative, okay?
I'm not from the government. I'm not government. I represent the people. I don't represent
The policymakers are the government.
You're an elected official. How are you not government?
That's what the government is, right? It's the representation of the people.
As big as our vision is to solve the problems that we have, is exactly together. And this is one of the ways. Great, here's a conversation. But it's also you proposing legislation that helps us to solve the big problems that each one of us individually cannot do on our own. Or even us in small communities cannot do on our own. That's why we get together and organize. And that's what government is. It's an organization. It is a collective problem-solving organization with its first priority being the safety and protection of its citizens. That's the beginning of the social contract that everybody signs, whether or not they know it or not. If you don't want it, go into Somalia. They don't have a social contract. See how well it works. So my point is simply this, is that if we are going to claim that we don't have revenue for things, or we don't, the size of government matters, then we need to look at what it is we think government is. Before we start saying we want smaller government. You know, smaller government is a very good thing when it's an authoritarian government. You want it to have as little power as possible. But when government is us, when it is what we are going to do together, which is democracy or a representative republic, whatever you want to call it, then the size of government only matters in relation to the size of the problems or the scope of the problems we want to tackle together. And then that's it. You can look at, if you want to say small government is better, look at some of these Nordic countries that have huge world governments, that have higher quality of life than we do, that have plenty of opportunity, more upward mobility than we do. One of the things we call the American dream. I'm sick of living the lies and people saying these blatant lies like, oh, we have the best in the world, and the smaller government is better. I will not let that go unchecked, because that's not true.